Hello, welcome to our episode of Tea featuring our Arctic Bliss. This Arctic Bliss is our pride and joy at Sipping Streams Tea Company. Not only did it win our first international award at the North American Tea Championships, it also is hand harvested by me, my family members, and our community in Fairbanks, Alaska. This is a wild foraged fireweed and lowbush cranberry tea with a little bit of white tea. So there is a little bit of caffeine in here, but not a lot of caffeine. This plant called fireweed is also known as river beauty. In the landscape of Alaska, from the end of June till the fall season, it is this beautiful pink kind of flowery meadow that is created around the interior of Alaska all the way to the south of Alaska. Now, this tea has been used for hundreds of years by the indigenous people of Alaska for different salves, different teas, for healing purposes, for healing wounds and cuts. And so this is with Alaskan fireweed and lowbush cranberries. You can see it in this pyramid tea bag. It's very beautiful. You can see the purpley colors, but that purple color happens because of when it gets dried, it's dried like a white tea, and so it becomes dense in its pigmentation. But when you rehydrate it and you steep it, it looks like this brilliant pink color, kind of like a fuchsia color. And I've had different people tell me it kind of reminds them of honeysuckle in the summertime. There is also lowbush cranberries, and in parts of Europe, lowbush cranberries are also called lingonberries. So we call them either lingonberries or lowbush cranberries here in Alaska. This tea can be re-steeped up to 4 times. It usually gets better the second or third time. You want to use about 175 degrees water and just steep it about 2 minutes, and you should be easily able to re-steep it up to 4 times. It tastes amazing on its own. Absolutely amazing. So I ask you to first try it on its own before you add any sort of honey or sugar or sweetener to it, because it just is so good. Now, the cranberries aren't super tart and tangy in there. It is actual raw cranberries that we pick, and they have a very thick membrane. So that skin, that peel, actually allows the steeping, with each consecutive steeping, to slowly release more and more of the cranberry flavor, but it's definitely more of an undertone, and it gives it a slight sweetness without being super tart. So this is our Arctic Bliss. Now, we do have fireweed honey that you can add to it to complement it. So one of the unique things about fireweed honey is that it's supposed to be mostly pollinated off of fireweed flowers. And so you can see this bottle is actually crystallized. Now, with the different seasons of the fireweed growing, whether it's the first blooms of the fireweed season or the late season, they will vary in color. So the honey will change color depending on the time of year the bees have made it. Even the time of the season, the density of the nutrients that are released from the pollination of the fireweed. And with it crystallized, it looks very dense, and it has a sweeter flavor to it. But no matter what the color it looks like, whether it's crystal clear and has been filtered by some companies, but for us, it's unfiltered and raw, so it has more of the density of the nutrients in it, it should still taste like fireweed. And if it's crystallized, it's totally fine. You can just get a spoon or a knife, and you can easily just scoop it out. And fireweed flowers for the honey part, when it is being created into honey, what's the nice thing about fireweed honey and why it's considered the champagne of honeys, it has a very bright, light, crisp sweetness to it. And so with that sweetness, you get a lot of these, like I said, like this honeysuckle type of flavor to it. And it's light and mild, but very, like, this is a lot of honey. This is probably for a 16-ounce cup, which this is more of what I have right here. You don't need a lot of it. And that said, also, super premium quality honeys have lower water content to them, and higher sugar and plant-based material in them. So that is also why it crystallizes very easily. So super premium quality honeys usually crystallize pretty easily, and they have not gone bad. In fact, you can easily put them on top of a refrigerator on the compressor where it kind of stays nice and warm to kind of make it malleable. Or you can always put it inside of like a heating pad. You know, those heating pads that you use in the wintertime or for your kids when they're not feeling good, like their tummy doesn't feel good. That heating pad can warm up the honey to be more liquefied, but I do not recommend ever putting it in the microwave because you'll superheat the sugar content in there, and it'll actually crystallize faster and faster each time you try to set it on the counter. So that said, it's because it burns the sugar in there. And this is raw honey. So raw honey does naturally crystallize. Pasteurized honey stays raw. I mean, not raw. Pasteurized honey gets ultra heated and cooked, so it does not crystallize as easily or quickly. And what that does is it actually denatures the enzymes in the honey itself. So having kind of crystallized rock hard honey is kind of like a signature of like, this is authentic, right? So that is something to know about fireweed honey, which does not have fireweed flowers in it. It's been pollinated off of fireweed flowers. So you have your fireweed tea called the Arctic Bliss. Light, mild, has a little bit of caffeine in it. You can drink it before bed unless you're extremely sensitive to the caffeine. You can re-steep it up to 4 times, high in vitamin C, has low bush cranberries in here, has fireweed blossom flowers and fireweed leaves. And that's is specifically what we use to create this Arctic Bliss blend. Because we don't use seed pods, we don't use stems. We're very specific in the ingredients that we use. And it actually takes us 6 hours to hand process 2 ounces of it. So when you sip this Arctic Bliss, imagine the summertime or late summer season in Alaska, watching all the huge fields of fireweed that are beautiful and pink. And if you want to, you can get some of our Alaskan fireweed honey and mix it in there. And like I said, just a teaspoon is a lot of sweetness because it's so dense. And the honey will eventually dissolve in there. But there's nothing wrong with crystallized honey. In fact, it's kind of a signature sign to know that your honey is actually raw and the enzymes are not denatured. They're not ultra heated. They're not heated past 115 degrees. So you do want to have raw fireweed honey if you want, and make sure that it's, is something that's not been watered down or denatured if you want the best benefits for your consumption. And it's just a nice complement to your Arctic Bliss tea. So I hope you enjoyed this informational video about our Alaskan fireweed honey and our fireweed tea, the Arctic Bliss, which was our first international award that we ever won. It won 3rd place at the North American Tea Championships, and it was a start to our journey to making you amazing teas and bringing you amazing teas from around the world.